Ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da.
Bon Jovi.
Copyright infringement.
No, you're only if you do like 5 seconds, you're all right.
That's
but
a
beyond
myth.
that, is it really?
Yes. You're being deported.
Hey, if I don't get my green
free.
card at the end of the year, I will be.
What's up, everyone? As you can tell, it is the final countdown to E3 2011. We will have another show for you guys next week. Obviously, the show is the week after that. We'll have a big E3 preview blowout for you guys right before the show. This week, we want to get to some brass tacks, though, and let you know what we're doing. I know we mentioned it briefly in the show last week, or Marcus did at least. But we do have the full rundown, and we want to go through it with you guys really quickly right off the top of the show so you all know what's going on.
So, but the bombshell is that we're not going to E3. Fuck it.
Yeah, we just threw in the towel.
We're skipping 011.
Anyway, so we're kicking off our E3 coverage on Thursday before E3 with a big episode of GameTrailers TV on at 1 a.m. We have a ton of exclusives for that show, but the only one I can reveal right now is we're going to show Uncharted 3 Co-op for the very first time in that episode. The show will be loaded with exclusives, so make sure you check that out. That'll be at 1 a.m. Thursday night on Spike. Then we kick things off on Monday. And really the only thing you need to remember for Monday is to watch Spike TV. Spike TV has the exclusive broadcast rights to the Microsoft press conference, also the exclusive rights to the EA press conference. Just stick around until it's over. So
check local listings.
And if you only have bunny ears, you can see all this stuff on GameTrailers.
Right. But yes, we have the exclusive broadcast rights for the Microsoft press conference and for the EA press conference. Not for the others, but for all the other press conferences, they will be streamed live on GameTrailers.com. Yes, the stream will be better than it was last year. I know that we say this every year. But we have done a lot of live streaming over the last year, and we've really perfected that process. Our streams will be rock solid. Not only can you watch those streams on GameTrailers.com, you can watch them on Facebook. You can watch them on all the social platforms. You can even watch it on your mobile phone. We are blowing out E3 Live in a major way. Now, on Tuesday, we do not have live press conferences on air. Instead, we're doing all the press conferences inside a live stream show that we're doing for, 14 hours or something ridiculous on Tuesday.
It's a long time.
Yeah, our live stream on Tuesday is essentially a broadcast quality show that is not going to air, but it is live streaming through all those other platforms I just mentioned all day Tuesday. Then you start talking about the minute-by-minute, 24 hours around the clock coverage we have of the show all week long. GameTrailers.com is definitely where you guys want to go for E3 to get it first and get a lot of the exclusives and see stuff before everyone else. So make sure you check that out. And I'm getting a note right now saying U.S. only from Marcus.
Is it US only? I mean, because obviously a lot of our people watch from around the world. The Game Trailer stuff, is it capped for just local, for US only?
No, our live streams are worldwide. So you can watch the streams. Obviously, if you don't get Spike TV in some other part of the world, you can't watch the live broadcast, but you can still catch that broadcast on Game Trailers. So while that 5-6 hour broadcast is going on Spike TV, it's also being simulcast online. So anyway, that's the housekeeping. As more details come up, we'll probably share a little bit more with you next week, but that is sort of the rough overview, the big rundown of our E3 plans. And now we're going to launch into episode, is this 161 now?
161.
Creeping up to that big 200.
We should stop numbering them. We should just call this episode Steve.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Well, you were going to subtitle every episode. What's your title for this week?
Fuck My Life. When is this going to be over?
FML.
Where's my razor blades?
Yeah.
Well, the kicker
Jack
for us is
Kevorkian
that
on speed dial.
E3 ends, but it doesn't end for us. Like, literally, the show ends, and then we dive right into our Best of E3 awards. And in some ways, there's more work involved with our Best of E3 awards.
Oh, hang on.
Wait.
Hang on. Let me
Who
go
was
get the
the one
cheese with that
crying
one.
5 minutes
I'm not
ago?
crying. I'm just like, fuck my life.
Who said FML just 60 seconds? Anyway, so we got a big E3 plan for you guys. We hope that you guys will hitch on to our truck for the ride. It should be a good one. Lots of good stuff. And here we're going to talk about some of the E3 stuff that's coming up on today's show. And here to do that, as you've heard pretty much from everyone at this point, Ryan Stevens.
Yo, hitch on up to my truck.
Marcus Beer, as you've heard, is also on the show today.
Yes, and I'd like to acknowledge Team Bondi, because apparently we didn't call them out last week and people were bitching. We know, L.A. Noire, Team Bondi, good job.
Is it Bondi or Bondi?
Bondi Beach. So I'm guessing it's Bondi. But the British pronunciation is Bondi, so.
Gotcha. Miguel Lopez, our fabulous reviews editor, is here today.
Hello.
I had
Hello.
to chain him to the chair.
Hello.
Hello.
Ryan says closer. Hello.
And Mike Damiani's on the show today, too.
Hey, all. Honor's a curious thing. Honor made Arian fight a mismatched battle against the might of Temeria. Facing defeat, Honor told Arian to bow his neck to save his men.
All right, so in our most anticipated games of the year feature, we caught a little bit of grief for including The Witcher 2 from certain people, but I think now we look pretty good.
Right. Who was hating on us for that?
Just the same people who hate on Modern Warfare and anything else that they can find to hate on.
PS3 fanboy 644 and Xbox fanboy 931
Exactly.
in particular.
Those guys.
But The Witcher 2 has delivered the goods.
Yeah, no, it is excellent. It is it's pretty close to my favorite RPG in a very long time.
You couldn't go all the way and say all time.
Is it better than Dragon Age 2 in your opinion?
I do, yeah. It is. I like it more.
So I hold out hope for it. Then I haven't played it yet. I hold out hope for it then because you and I had we came to loggerheads over Dragon Age 2.
Right.
So what does it do better than DA2?
I don't think it's a very useful comparison, really.
Well, I'm just basing it because I still think you're shit at RPGs. But there you go. I kid. Come on.
I mean, it's a completely different game. This game, it really plays more like a console game, whereas Dragon Age 2 is more of a kind of
Wow
PC
experience.
People will kill you for saying that.
I thought Dragon Age 2 was the ultimate console
RPG.
RPG.
See, I don't know. I think after I reviewed it, I was reading a lot of people's reactions to it on message boards, and a good majority of the people I encounter playing this on PC are playing it with an Xbox 360 controller plugged in.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, the combat in it is very physical.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like WoW where you're kind of near someone's hitbox.
No, yeah, it's reactive.
Which Dragon Age was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Here
And
it's-
is there any need or advantage to playing it with the keyboard and mouse? Do you
Not
need that
really.
many? But I mean, it works on a console controller, right?
Yeah, it does. You get more hotkeys, but I didn't really use the hotkeys. I could have played it. The only reason I didn't is because I couldn't get it immediately to work on my PC at home.
Give me convenience or give me death.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, you know what? It's 1:30 a.m. and I just got this installed. I'm just gonna get in here and play it. Forget this stuff. But yeah, the combat most closely resembles something along the lines of like Arkham Asylum or Demon Souls. It's excellent, man. It's pretty much it's what BioWare would do if they weren't obligated to be so sort of family friendly. The world is a bit more cynical, a bit darker. The humor is a bit more profane.
It's
and
funny.
It is
Legitimately funny.
Yeah. You watched our review. We picked a few choice sound offs to kind of give you a hint as to what the humor is, but that stuff is really all over the place. And in my opinion, like the voice work and that whole area of the production is just as comprehensive as something you get in a BioWare game. These guys killed it. They really did a good job with that. The combat, I think, is very exciting. It's very difficult and it's very unforgiving. And I suspect, Marcus, that you're going to kind of be rankled by it, at least initially. Because
Well, Bloodworth mentioned yesterday that he had problems getting through like the first set of battles.
Yeah. And that's partly because the game doesn't do a good job of showing you how to play it. It kind of just throws you, into the deep end of the pool.
To the wolves, literally.
Yeah.
That's what Penny
I mean,
Arcade
there
did.
are some like half-assed little tutorial things that pop up, but when you're in the midst of trying to survive, you missed them.
Oh,
And-
yeah. I've played literally 30 minutes of this game, and the first thing I did was run away from a dragon who's blowing fire on me as the screen fills up with tooltips, and I'm just like, fuck that shit.
I'm just running.
Yeah.
Dragon!
Oh, and the game is kind of an asshole too because it lets you choose the order in which you play out all these prologue things. And if you want, you're looking at a list of options, and one of them is like, and then the dragon came.
That's
You're
the
thinking,
first one I
Of
chose.
course you're gonna
like,
choose
holy
that one.
shit! And that's like the hardest part.
course.
That's the part that beats your ass the worst.
Yeah.
Sure enough, yeah. If it doesn't occur to you to just do them in order, like the game probably should have made you, then you're gonna get brutalized.
So what makes this game different from other games like it? Not that obviously it needs to be all that different. It can still sort of follow the tropes of the genre and get the score it did. But what really stands out for you is something that sets it apart?
The main difference is the combat. It feels deadly. It feels like, well, at least for me, when I get high enough level in one of these RPGs, I tend to just feel super confident. Like nothing scares me. In this game, for the most part, pretty much every fight that I got into, I had to be mindful of everything that's important tactically. I had to, okay, let me not get crowded. Okay, let me position myself here.
You have to always watch your back, right? Because if you
Absolutely.
get attacked from the back, it's like really easy to die.
Yeah. I mean, it is. That brings up another flaw in the game that a lot of the things that should be built into your character you have to pay for. Like you have to put points into a skill so that you don't take extra damage when you're attacked from behind. And that's just no fun. That's like, paying for your car to have wheels or something.
Right.
But like you have to keep those kinds of considerations in mind, and you have to use your resources. Like I can't think of how many RPGs I've played where I don't even bother to use potions or anything like that. In this game, like everything you have to make use of. You have to use your bombs. You have to make cool bombs, and you're motivated to because these fights pretty much demand it.
And you mentioned the potions, and like they all have a rub, right? They all have a negative.
Not all of them.
Oh, okay.
Some of the ones that have more spectacular effects, they do. It becomes a trade-off. So you can get one that dramatically increases the rate you would generate health, but it'll make it so that your mana regeneration is gimped. So there's a lot of trade-offs like that. There isn't much in this game that's like a clear advantage when it comes to that stuff.
Well, speaking of clearness and choices and stuff, like, and it's not always good or evil or black and white, right? Like when you make choices, it's just like, what do you think's going to be good for the story, right? And
yeah,
the game just plays
the world
off.
is cynical, and like I tend to be one of those people that wants to make the quote unquote right choice in every one of these games just to get like the quote unquote best ending. But in this game, if you try to do that, like you're kind of flying blind. So as a result, I just decided to go with what seems like the most fun, the most interesting thing, exactly like you said, and just see where the cards fall. And yeah, it was good. Like, if you would have told me that my game would have played out the way it did, knowing the choices, I wouldn't have believed you,
Wow.
I sided with the characters that I wouldn't have expected to side with just because it came down to like a split-second decision.
Yeah.
And that totally changed the way the rest of the game played out for me.
Yeah, Blood was saying some of the decisions you make, they don't seem like the game doesn't build them up to be a big deal while you're making them.
Right,
But then
absolutely.
later on, you're like, oh, crap, I can't believe
yeah.
that I chose
That does sound
one.
like a Daniel Bloodworth quote right there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That was one of the things that we praised the most in the review is that you're kind of you're encouraged to kind of be in the moment and not spend so much time trying to like telegraph what's
going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, replay value. Obviously, it's a huge game. You're going to get a lot of play through the first time. Is there a lot of incentive to go back and make different choices? Does it drastically alter what happens on down the road?
Yeah, in fact, I don't know if people consider this a spoiler, but depending on one of the big choices you make in Act 1, the area where you start in and play through in Act 2 is completely different. It's one of two.
So it completely changes the area that you go to.
Yeah. So essentially, like this game has two different second acts.
So the sex scene, probably the raunchiest in games so far, minus like Battle Raper and Triple X games. Like
Right.
legitimate game releases, probably the most suggestive.
Oh yeah, it's
so far.
like Skinamax sex scenes,
We
straight
did
up.
not put it up on the site. It was a pretty tough decision to not do that.
Right on the
honestly.
border.
God
Yeah, it
bless
was
those
very
Eastern
close.
Europeans. at
No, you know
CD
what I
Projekt.
did? Like one time when I was playing through it, I saved right before I got to a brothel, and I just went through every single character you could have sex with in the brothel and captured it. So
You
that footage is on
Please
our
tell me
server
there's-
somewhere.
Is there a VD achievement or something? Of gonorrhea?
No, in fact, Witchers they're immune to disease, so he could throw his dick anywhere he wants.
So Miguel, would you recommend this to people who maybe just like action adventure games and maybe haven't liked RPGs in the past? Do you think that it has enough of those gameplay elements to keep them satisfied?
I think it does. I think a lot of people are probably going to be put off by how unforgiving it is, especially at first. But I think it's a worthwhile game to invest in. And yeah, I think people who aren't necessarily into shit like Dragon Age or Fallout, I think they could get into this. And you saw it, it's really easy to get impressed. It's really easy to be impressed by it because it looks so good.
Definitely.
And I think that's a lot of people are motivated to play games just because of that, right?
Yep. Go buy it, folks. All right, man, this show is just loaded with big frickin' games, as it should be with E3 right around the corner. I had the distinct pleasure of checking out Bioshock Infinite at Judges Week last week. Yes, while I was playing hooky from Invisible Walls, I was checking out lots of games, and few bigger than Bioshock Infinite.
And we're going back to the 80s. It's set in 1983, isn't it?
Well,
That was the word on
Way to
the
spoil
Twitter
it.
sphere.
No, I'm
No,
kidding.
seriously, it's been on the Twitter sphere and it's been on YouTube for the last.
That did sound like the
72
coolest part
hours.
from what you told us.
Yeah.
Did they specifically say it was 1983?
no. That's just what it looked. That was about what I would say it looked like.
But there was Kramer versus Kramer posters like, on the wall.
Return of the
Tootsie
Jedi.
posters.
Molly Ringwald was still popular.
So to set it up, this girl has these crazy powers. She's been locked inside this tower for 15 years. This actually reminds me a little bit of like Rapunzel. You go there to rescue her. You're an ex-Pinkerton agent. The Pinkertons were basically the legal mob back in the day. In this guy's case, he was ex-Pinkerton. He had left because apparently he did something too bad for even the Pinkertons. So someone comes to you. They're like, look, there's this girl in this floating city. Now, this city used to be a place people could go to, but recently it's been taken over and militarized. So they come to you, they're like, look, there's this girl we need you to get from the floating city. He's like, and you say, well, nobody knows where it is. It's disappeared. The guy says, I know where it is. If you take the job, I'll tell you how to get there. So you go there, you find the girl. She's been in the tower for 15 years, totally reclusive, doesn't know anything about modern society. Some of the quips that go back and forth between you and her are really hilarious because they do a good job of writing around the fact that she's lived in this tower away from society for all this time. And
your character talks? The playing character talks?
Oh, yeah, your character talks. So you go, you rescue her, but she has this protector, and this is what kind of makes it feel a little bit Bioshock-y, is instead of the big daddies, you have this huge iron eagle-like thing that protects her. So you bust her out, and then this huge monstrosity is after you pretty much the rest of the game. And I'm not going to spoil some of the things that we saw, but that's sort of the object, is you're trying to get the girl, the eagle's trying to keep the girl. So the girl has these powers, and why they've kept her in this tower is because they fear that her powers could destroy everything because they're afraid she won't be able to handle them. So you break her out, she starts to discover these powers and figure out how they work. She can control these things called tears, which essentially are these rifts in time. So for instance, there was one battle that they showed. There was this huge rift that was like a turret, and you could tell her to pull that turret in from another time and then use it. But you're on sort of a meter. You can't just have her pull everything in that you want. You have to pick and choose what objects she pulls in. So these rifts also, these tears, will take you to other periods of time. So there's this one scene where there's a horse lying on the ground that's dead, and she's all upset about it or whatever. She puts her hands on it and attempts to like revive it. But what she ultimately does is ends up opening up this tear that takes you to the future. So it just goes zap. And next thing you know, you're standing on a city street, and it looks like it's the 1980s. And they're both like, holy shit, what is this? And then zap, they're zapped back out of it. And so I don't know if you go back there. I don't know how time shifting is going to work in the game, but there's definitely a time element. There's definitely an opportunity or a possibility to explore other periods of time. The other thing that's important about this is this game is not an escort mission, and that was my biggest concern. I'm like, are we going to be babysitting this girl throughout the whole entirety of the game? Truth be told, she's far more badass than you are. I mean, she's the one with all the powers. You do not have to rescue her. You do not have to babysit her. In fact, one scene we were going on the sort of the sky hooks, which is this roller coaster like network that connects like the floating parts of the cities together. And so there's like set piece moments on it where you battle people on it, but it also is like a means of traversal. So in this set piece moment they were showing, you kind of come around the corner and you're like hanging from the hook, and you look down and you see her down on the ground beating the shit out of somebody. And they said that they've littered stuff like that all through the game to let you know that, hey, she could take care of herself. Don't worry about it. She's going to be fine. So you can go about doing your business, so to speak.
So do you? I mean, but do you need to be within a certain amount of geographical distance to her? Or?
Nope.
Nope. Fine.
She goes and does her own thing. She's more than self-sufficient. They've replaced the plasmids in this game. They still have them, but they're kind of different. They're basically these elixirs that you drink called vigors. What they've shown us so far of the stuff that you get, pretty freaking awesome. Even the stuff they put out in the trailers already that aren't what we saw in the demo that they showed us at Judges Week. Even the stuff they have out there in the public eye already is pretty freaking awesome. So all I can say is I went into there. I didn't know a whole lot about the game. I hadn't done a lot of research, and I came out of that demo with my jaw on the floor. So
Bioshock was brilliant. Bioshock 2, good, but felt like a cash-in.
Well, I talked to them about that as well. I was like, so how do you guys feel about Bioshock 2? And they told me that they knew hardly anything about the game. They said that they didn't really read up about it, play it, research anything until like a week or two before it came out. And so they said that they'd send them information, but the way they looked at it was like, that's not even our game. We're already moving away from Rapture.
It's the Treyarch version of the game.
It is, essentially, yeah. They're like, we don't really care about what happens at Rapture. We told the story we wanted to tell from there. We'll let them wrap it up however they want. We're moving on to this new project.
So this feels more like a true sequel to, and expanding upon the Bioshock universe.
Well, that's the one thing I would say is like it doesn't necessarily feel like Bioshock. I mean, what is Bioshock? At
System
this point?
shock.
But it's not, right?
Right.
I mean, the whole whatever shock
It's
thing,
marketing. It's marketing.
It is all marketing at this point. I mean, the only thing I would say that really ties the two together is the vigors that feel like the plasmids and the sort of steampunk setting a little bit.
The stylistic nature.
Part of it, and then the guardian, the Iron Eagle that's protecting her. But the rest of it just feels like a whole other game set in a whole new universe, all new characters, all new situations. It feels like a completely different game.
How linear did it seem? Because Bioshock 1 had these linear like plot levels that would like shoot you through, and then it had these levels that you kind of explored, but then you could kind of finish that level up.
It feels pretty much the same.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Talk about a bit about how the sky hooks work. Like, does that seem like it's this sort of persistent travel method, or are you just on it during set pieces where they want you to be on it?
No, it is a means of travel. They said that in the interview that we did. Like, there are set piece moments that happen on the tracks, so to speak, but that's not why they're just there. While you're on the tracks, it's crazy too. Watching them demo this, I was like, how are they doing this? You can jump from track to track. Sometimes there are huge crates that come rolling down, and you have to like jump from one track to the next. It looked to me like there's an icon system, so to speak. So you can look whatever direction you want while you're flying around on the rails, and then you can sort of look at where you want to go, and then hit the button, and you'll sort of dislodge from one rail, go to that other rail. Or if you want to land on a platform, you can land on that platform by putting the icon on it. So
that's cool. It's kind of like how Spider-Man works, almost.
Yeah, I mean, it happens really fast. And everybody that walked out of the demo was a little bit dumbfounded on how they were doing it.
Really?
But you could see this very vague, like, white sort of icon appearing wherever they would ultimately end up when they left it. But it seemed like it was pretty free-roaming as far as when and where you wanted to leave and when you wanted to jump to another rail. The network of tracks goes all the way through the whole city. So yeah, it was pretty cool and pretty fun. All right, next up, Invisible Walls Battle Mode. If you guys have listened to the show or watched the show over the prior months, I have not been convinced that I would want to spend money on buying Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time again. I bought it twice already, played it 4 or 5 times. Mike Damiani has played the game. We have it in-house here. Convince me that I should buy this game for a third time.
What if
in
he doesn't?
60 seconds.
What if he doesn't think he should buy it?
Well, this will be a very
best
short segment.
game ever. No.
Well.
Okay. I mean, okay. Ocarina of Time. It's they haven't added anything really new to it. So if you're one of those people thinking, oh, new dungeons, new stuff like that, it's still pretty much the same game. Calling it like a remake isn't really fair. It's more of an enhanced port. I will say this about it, like, I didn't intend to play it in 3D. I just wanted to try it out because I honestly was under the impression that's just like a gimmick to sell the system. I ended up playing the whole thing through in 3D. That's how much, like, how natural it felt to play it in 3D. I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad. It just felt natural to play it like that. Yeah. and I just didn't realize kept playing it in 3D. I was like, wow, I played through this whole thing with the 3D effect on. And it actually helps you out in a lot of situations. A few things, might be iffy in the 3D, but for the most part, it does work. And I would. That's one thing. Playing it in 3D is different enough, like the effect. I mean, they revamped the visuals. I mean, if you don't really care about visuals, whatever, but it does look like they upgraded it pretty significantly. Especially when you turn the 3D off and you get like that extra boost. I was kind of thinking, like, why don't, like, Wii games look this good? I mean...
You think that game looks better than a Wii game?
When it's running, like Twilight Princess, maybe because it's just an SD and stuff from putting on an HD TV, but that tiny screen and what they optimized it for,
you have to imagine the DPI is insane.
Yeah. Compared to, I mean, it does.
You think it looks better than Twilight Princess?
On GameCube and Wii, yeah.
Yeah?
There's parts in those games, the textures now are blurry and stuff. They didn't redo the textures in this game. Some of them, you can tell that they missed a few spots.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has been like, it has been optimized for this. I mean, they put the world feels more alive in this game. Like when you go to Kakariko Village, it used to be kind of like barren. You see a few NPCs walking around. They put up all these posters all over the place. Like you go into someone's house, you actually see like a bunch of books lying out. Like there's a map with a dagger in it. I mean, they put more personality, if that was even possible, into this game. And it's like those quirks and charms that Nintendo's known for. They like up the ante on like that. In terms of like actual like controls and stuff,
Your 60 seconds are up.
Yeah, we're actually we're actually on 3 minutes. So
Can you still play it backwards?
I'll give you 15 seconds bonus time.
okay, let me say this: the controls take some time to get adjusted to. I mean, the analog pad's a little different. Playing the Ocarina is different. They changed up all the controls, whether it's touchscreen on the buttons, but you get used to it. The one last thing I will say though is if you are one of the people who like to speed run this game, they went through.
If you're one of those
and
poor people.
They nerfed and fixed a lot of the
took it
shit
all
in this
out.
game. Yeah, the big stuff all fixed and stuff. Even some of the basic stuff they fixed. Walking backwards still works, but a lot of the big stuff is gone. So
and your
What
time
about the
is up.
timeline,
So
man? What about the
Shane,
timeline?
We'll just end it on walking backwards.
well, no, I want to know, Shane, has he piqued your curiosity?
No. All right, so next we're going to talk about a game that pretty much everybody that watches this show hates for some unbeknownst reason.
I'm giving this
to me.
segment a 1 out of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
already.
I think
I think they hate it because you like it.
the people
Is
who
that
post
why?
the people
Yeah.
who post comments hate it. I'm sure people who
Right.
just listen like
It's the vocal minority who carpet bomb our ratings every single time a video for this series is released. It's Modern Warfare 3, probably the biggest game in the industry. I don't think anyone can deny that. They finally showed some in-engine stuff, not necessarily gameplay. The first trailer, I think there was a couple quick shots of you actually playing, but most of it was just in-engine stuff showing what the game looks like.
Shows Germany, shows England. I got to say, I looked at it and I thought, Rogue Spear. I just looked at it and it took me back to watching Rogue Spear for the first time. And I just
And when are we going to get a decent Taksim again?
shut the fuck
Here
up.
we go down
No,
that
honestly,
path again.
I want to throw down this challenge to Red Storm, guys. Remake Rogue Spear with a new engine, put the Taksim in it, and watch it kill Modern Warfare 3.
Wait, does Red Storm still exist?
They still exist somewhere?
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, they do. I've got friends who work there.
I have a fridge magnet of Red Storm, but I got that about 11 years ago.
I don't know. I thought the teases were pretty cool, like showing this kind of the weird kind of radar scope-ish sort of like look into like the world being cities being like kind of torn apart where there hasn't been war in hundreds like 100 years or whatever, World War II, 60, 70 years.
Well,
But I thought
the game is World War III,
Right.
essentially.
But I thought the actual trailer was a little underwhelming at this point. Like, after all those rumors and leaks came out that like the engine was going to be severely tweaked and stuff like that. And the gameplay, I think the latter half of the trailer has some cooler stuff. But like a lot of that underwater stuff, we saw that in the last game too, and that was kind of some smoke and mirrors as well. I mean, it was kind of playable. And the vehicle stuff we know is always like it's fun, but it's goofy as hell. I mean, it kind of takes you out of this kind of like, I won't say realism, but kind of like this action movie kind of violent thing to this like
it feels like an
goofy
interlude or
snow
something,
speeders, like kind of weird stuff.
Do you
It's the
think-
Michael Bay moments.
Yeah, where it gets a little too grandiose.
Well, you see the train in London that derails and slams into stuff, and it just. I mean, I think we saw a bunch of set pieces, and it'll be the same as the last one. And I raised the point last week, and you weren't here, Shane, that I'm wondering if this is going to be as good without the core guys who were Infinity Ward. I know the story has probably been mapped out. We discussed that last week across, whether they mapped the arc, but with 3 different companies fiddling with this game, engine, not exactly
I don't
blow
know
me.
if Raven is actually doing it.
Raven are doing the multiplayer.
They weren't
aren't
listed on the trailer
It's
though.
just
so.
Sledgehammer
Sledge
and
and
Infinity Ward.
Infinity Ward. But they got equal billing. It's
Right.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I have actually seen the game, but I'm under embargo, so I can't talk. I can only talk about what was put in the trailer so far. And yeah, there's no Raven in the credits for the trailer, so I can say that, but I can't say what I found out. This is ridiculous, in all honesty. But
Well, I see you putting 2 fingers down your throat right now and making the gagging. No, he's not.
Speaking more generally, like, do you think the fact that we're finding this introduction a little underwhelming is because there's not much new in the game, or because they hastily put together this trailer?
No, I think this was
planned.
planned. No, I think this was planned. It was another NBA game or something.
Yeah,
it's what they've been
really
doing. So
before.
I'm sure this was planned
here's
well in
my
advance.
question to you guys: what do you want? How do you make this game
I mean,
better? What could they have done that you guys wouldn't be sitting here right now saying?
No, I mean it's kind of the problem. I mean, to go.
I mean, what do you want?
No, I mean to go spoiler wise. I mean, I felt like Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare, like when they had the guy when you were getting dragged through the streets and you got shot in the head, and when the A bomb went off, you're like, oh my god, these are huge moments.
Spoiler.
And then. Yeah, I'm totally spoiling these games, by the way. And then Modern Warfare 2 came out, and it's like, you're in fucking outer space. We're gonna have a what's the thing? An EP? No, EMP. Go off, and they're. I mean,
well, the big thing there was no Russian, right?
No Russian. You're trying to.
Like that.
They're trying to, continually up the ante because they feel like they have to. But at a certain point, it's like the rule of cool. I mean, as cool as it gets, at a certain point, it just starts getting kind of ridiculous. Like I like to think of like Silence of the Lambs, where the shit's fucking retarded, but the movie was done so well you're okay with it. And then you watch Hannibal, and you're like, this is fucking retarded, and it's not good.
But it goes back to the question: what do you want him to do? Do you want it to be this boring thing where you see some dude walking through the grass for 2 minutes?
I think the people who like Call of Duty or Modern Warfare, big time, they're probably just waiting to hear about what's going on with multiplayer. I think that's the answer. If they do something meaningful there that changes the game in a way that is positive for it, then
right. But I get that.
I would have been happy.
Back, to my question? What could
new
they
engine
have done?
New engine.
I just don't want to be strung along from in a linear fashion from set piece to set piece to set piece.
But how do you know that that's the case watching that trailer?
It might not
be the case for. But that has been.
Assumptions.
I mean, we're making assumptions based on what we already know, and I think Mike has a valid point. And this was my biggest problem with the last game, Black Ops, which wasn't Modern Warfare 2 or 3, but Black Ops had that problem. And I think that the Call of Duty franchise has been going that direction.
What game doesn't do that besides RPGs at this point?
You mean in first-person shooter genre? Yeah. I mean, what you asked, what do you want? Like the Servant Eye level from GoldenEye.
But no, but I'm asking you, what did you want to see in that trailer that you didn't see, and therefore makes you dislike that debut trailer? Why is everybody so down on it based upon that trailer? Is my question.
The trailer, I'm not down on the trailer. It just doesn't get me excited.
What do you
Modern
want?
Warfare 3.
Do you want the whole world exploding?
The trailer. No trailer.
I want to fight on the moon.
No. No trailer is going to do it for me. It's going to have to. They have to show off actual gameplay. That will be what sells me.
Look,
I
think people are a little bit weary of.
It's like, oh my god, they showed people shooting guns and shit blowing up. It sucks.
But did you think the trailer? Did you think that? Well, Shane. No. Shane, did you think the trailer was good?
I thought it was pretty much what I expected it to be. I don't think it's bad. I think it's a pretty good trailer.
You didn't think it was underwhelming?
No.
Okay.
Why would it be underwhelming?
Miguel
what did you want? Answer the question.
Well, Miguel has hit the nail on the head. I think we personally, I mean, a bunch of us are suffering from franchise fatigue with Call of Duty. We've discussed it before with games like Assassin's Creed, where they don't need a game every year. Now, I understand that Activision need Call of Duty every year because they've got fuck all else. They've murdered every other franchise. But somebody tweeted actually at me when the trailer was announced that they've turned it into Modern Warfare, Guitar Hero World Tour, and they have to ramp it up every time. They have to make it bigger and better. Once we sit down and see it, and you've seen more than we have. We haven't seen anything here. You can't talk about it. 2 weeks. We're all going to go see it at Activision. They even invited me. Exactly.
Which just means obviously they do not watch Invisible Walls.
No, exactly. But no, I think in 2 weeks we'll sit down, we'll have a discussion. I'm not going to go in and look at this and say I'm going to criticize right off the bat. The thing I looked at was I looked at the big set pieces, and while they are cool, it's set pieces that I hope they don't go down the route of you're just getting from set piece to set piece. You're being led by the nose again. I'm hoping
just feel like
this
franchise is chastised for the stuff that every other game does, and everyone thinks it is cool in those other games.
Well, don't you think that there's a good reason why people are a little skeptical right now?
The big thing here is that this game sold
gazillions.
I mean, We're hearing from this very small group of people who, for whatever reason, have built up this anger towards the franchise, when the truth be told is, there's 2 million people playing the game right now on Xbox Live.
Let me throw this out to you. I have less anger towards Modern Warfare as a franchise. I am sick to the back teeth to Call of Duty as a franchise. I don't need Black Ops. I don't need World at War. If there was a 2-year gap between, Modern Warfare, every time there was nothing in the middle, I would feel a lot more happy and excited about it. But
what do you want? See, that's the thing. You always say you hate it, but you never say what you want. I mean, why are people all over Battlefield 3, for instance? Why do people think that's okay?
Well, I think it's also
but Call of Duty's not. Why is that?
It's in our nature, and I think a lot of stuff is starting to catch up with Activision with regards to Bobby Kotick mouthing off. And we haven't mentioned him in a while.
Irrelevant. It's just a video game.
It's just
who cares about Bobby fucking Kotick?
Here's my view. People are skeptical about it because number one, it's a new studio, a new series of studios that are doing this, and people are kind of. I think they're rightfully alarmed that this might turn into the same kind of phenomenon that Marcus describes, where it's an iteration every year,
but
decreasing
the point that
in
you're
quality.
missing is it's not that same situation. They have two completely different teams making these games, and they're working on them for 2 years at a time. It's not like the Madden team who finishes the game, and it's the same 120 guys working on the next one. There's already somebody working on Treyarch's next Call of Duty, and they've been working on it for a year already. It's not just because it comes out every year doesn't mean that you can just say, oh, it's just like EA Sports games, or oh, it's just like it's different.
And I don't know. My concern is that it's two different studios working on it, but it's very successful, and I think it's a victim. Like the success might be the consequence that Activision wants it to sell so many. Follow this formula, follow this pattern. And yes, if you like Call of Duty for that, you're getting that every single time. You probably shouldn't be as skeptical. But for me, like after Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, I was like, all right, I want something a little bit different. Do something a little bit different, but I just feel like they're not going to do that. It's going to be the same game, which is not bad, but I just want them to try something a little different.
What shooter have you guys played in the last 3 years that encapsulates what you're talking about, or is better in your opinion than these games?
Everything's been shit since Half-Life 2.
Right, so are we? That's what I'm getting at.
No,
like,
all right, let me throw this out at you.
Question is the shooter genre dead?
I don't think it's the shooter genre.
I don't feel like you can do anything more than they're doing with it.
My personal perspective, I am burned out on military shooters.
I think that's the problem.
The two
I think
shooters,
that is the big issue. But all the ire seems to be shot at this one game because it sells well. But truth be told, like the genre itself is just stagnantly
It's the biggest fish to shoot at, and it's within our nature that when something gets hugely successful, we shoot at it. It's human nature. That's what we do. Brits do it. Americans do it. We want to take it down. The two big shooters I'm excited for this year, one is Duke Nukem Forever. The other one is Deus Ex. They couldn't be more polar opposites towards Modern Warfare. I will play Modern Warfare. I will, try to take it at face value and enjoy it as a game. But I'm just sick to the back teeth of, modern combat, real world. I mean, seriously, the news is depressing enough right now.
Right. So that goes, and that's the bigger question: is the genre dying? Is it stagnating? What can be done with
Not
the
financially.
genre?
No, not financially.
Right.
Creatively,
but
it might
the
be
otaku
a little bit.
And to a lot of people, it's
I don't know. I can still get into military stuff. I think that's such a huge field that I feel that I could still be surprised in it.
See, I'm like the exact opposite. I hate military stuff, but I will put down my money for the Modern Warfare games because they're that good.
So why is Battlefield kind of getting a pass here? Because if you look, Battlefield 3 looks great.
It looks
Don't
good.
get me
It's
wrong.
the underdog.
But if you watch it, they're doing their very best to just emulate.
They've said
what Call of
that.
Duty's
They
doing.
want to come out.
But
and they
everyone's like, "Oh, Battlefield's cool. Modern Warfare 3 sucks." Like, why?
It's one of those things that it's become cool to slag Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are doing it.
Well, it's cool to a very small group of people. Meanwhile, there's 10 million people who love the shit out of it and are playing it every night and saying, "I don't care what people think about it."
It doesn't take the most powerful nations on Earth to create the next global conflict.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 161. Holy cow, we jammed a ton of games into this show. Marcus, good luck cutting this sucker down to a manageable length.
Oh, you're getting everyone angry now.
Yeah, I'm just going to go and cut that 15-minute Battlefield 3 segment totally out.
What about WoW 2?
Yeah, the WoW 2 thing, it's out the window. Diablo 3, gone.
Marvel versus DC.
Yeah.
Gran
Yeah,
Turismo 6.
nobody wanted to hear about that stuff anyway, actually.
Yeah, the PSP 4. No, forget it.
So I know I went over briefly our E3 coverage at the beginning of the show. Obviously, it's a lot of information. If you want a full rundown on that, we do have some promos running on the site, but also my blog on Reset this week is going to be all about our E3 coverage. So check that out on Saturday morning. Also, Marcus and Reset, you're going to be touching on L.A. Noire, right?
I will be discussing why I think it is like me in certain aspects. It's inches short of greatness.
Yeah. Anyway, hope everybody out there is having an awesome Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy your 3-day
bank
whatever
holiday
it
in
is.
the UK. It's a bank holiday, and I just got to shout out my boy Swansea City. Big game on Monday. I hope they win.
You talking about that football?
I am. It's a huge game, biggest game in our history. Swansea City. Come on, boys! Against
Where the
Reading.
fuck is that?
Fuck off.
Yeah. Good luck, actually. Anyway, that's going to do it for 161. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you next week with our big E3 preview. Invisible Walls is up and out.